All right, I have
It's
it.
not quite ready yet, Norma. Wait 1 sec. Okay.
All right, I have
It's
it.
not quite ready yet, Norma. Wait 1 sec.
Who was that?
There's a lag
Oh.
on my end. You're good to go.
All right, it is 7:04. Let's call to order the City of College Place Electronic City Council meeting for April 28th, 2020. We do need someone to conduct the roll call. Is City Clerk Nysel available yet?
I am available now. Sorry for the
That's
delay.
okay. That's okay. If you can please conduct roll call.
Yes. Councilmember Bobbitt,
I am present.
Councilmember Cleveland,
Present.
Councilmember Peterson.
Present.
I don't see that Councilmember Nyhagen has called in yet. So Councilmember Selby,
Present.
Councilmember Sherman. Oh,
She called.
said she was gonna be out.
Yeah, and excused absence.
Yes. Councilmember Trope,
Present.
Mayor Hernandez,
Present.
Administrator Rizzatello,
Present.
City Attorney Colwell is muted, but is here.
I am here.
Finance Director Carlton,
Here.
City Engineer Gordon,
Muted. Here.
Police Chief Tamaris is muted as well.
I'm here.
Okay. Community Development Director Rickard,
Present.
HR Manager Doring,
Here.
and myself and Deputy Clerk Holm is here. She's the one that saved our meeting when my computer went down.
Do you still want me to share my screen?
Sure, yes, that way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lisa, did you call Chief Winter? I didn't recall hearing that.
Chief Winter, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, and we do have a quorum.
Excellent. Okay. We are, now's the time to please recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
Of the
United
United
States
States
of
of
America,
America,
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
One
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with
liberty
and
and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And for our invocation, just like us to again continue lifting up the country as we continue moving through this COVID-19 experience. All our things are As a nation, it sounds like it's getting better, but we're still here in the Walla Walla Valley at our peak. So let's please remember all our first responders, our medical facilities, our grocery stores, and all the essential employees. And let's continue, and also please remember to practice your safe distancing as we reflect on not spreading those germs. Okay, it is time for public comment. City Clerk Nisel, do we have anybody that submitted for public comment?
We don't have anyone.
Okay. Okay, then let's move on. We have the consent agenda, which includes approving the agenda for today, April 28th, 2020. Approve the council minutes for April 14th, 2020. Historic Preservation Commission appointments. Parks, Arbor, and Recreation Board appointments. Update the Youth Advisory Commission code that Ms. Nisel took care of. The January 2020 check register and financial reports. The February 20th, 2020 check register and financial reports. And also excusing Council Member Sherman as she is under the weather today. Can I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other items for business? All right, hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, we will say aye.
Can I ask real
Aye.
quick who the second was?
Aye.
Here.
Trope.
Oh, simultaneous then.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion is carried and adopted. Moving on to presentations. City Attorney Reed Colwell has something for us this meeting.
Yeah, I think we had a problem with getting the documents onto the web page. Did you guys get a chance to review the memo that I don't have I don't have PowerPoint or anything like that. Were they missing pages for you guys?
I don't think so.
They've been corrected.
Okay. Well, really, if you've had an opportunity to review, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I think the biggest thing that is helpful for you guys is on page 6, how does this affect College Place? So if anyone has questions about what's going on in the court system, about their particular case, you can provide that to them. Also, you can refer them to me if there's any issues. So as far as it goes, does anyone have any questions? No? Come on, this is interesting stuff.
Well, I noticed you said in there that Chief Tomarson could probably tell us about the crime rates, and I was curious about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not a question for you.
No, it's all right. It's all good.
Did you want me to comment on that?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so you're looking for the crime rates are we looking at a certain topic here, or what are we looking, what are you asking?
She had said that there was the potential of our crime rates going down because of so many people staying home. And I was curious if you have seen that.
Yeah, so I can speak to a couple things. We were really concerned about DV. We had a couple spikes in that, but it's been kind of up and down. And I would say overall, it's been average, not more or less. And then the theft calls at Walmart, though, have been way down, which has been really nice. So all in all, I would say, yes, crime rate is probably down.
Thank you.
What about property crime? I hear from what I'm seeing, could be anecdotally, but it sounds like it's going up in Walla Walla. What about, how are we affected by this?
Yeah, I think that it's been fairly consistent. I don't think we've seen a spike in that at all. I actually did ask Marianne to run some data for me to compare March this year as from March of last year. So that's on her list of many things she's trying to get done for me. I wish I could have had that done for tonight, but no, I don't think so. I know talking to my partners in Tri-Cities, they've had a lot of commercial burglaries. We haven't experienced that here. So I think that's really good. Overall, I would say we've been consistent. We've been busy, but it's been, I would say, less than normal.
Thank you. I don't have anything further unless anyone has any questions.
Ree, I do have another question for you. With the courts being closed, are there any cases that the city, you're working on behalf of the city that is of any concern or in jeopardy?
No, the Supreme Court basically said, we're stopping everything for now. It doesn't count against your right to speedy trial. I think that might be challenged by some defendants, probably in Superior Court, not in District Court. My biggest concern is probably the same as the chief, that domestic violence cases, if I can get appropriate orders to keep those people apart, that's a little bit more difficult because we're just not in court. And so we're relying on the judges to impose that restriction without really any input from us. So if it becomes a problem, I can reach out to the judges, but that's something I can work with the police department with. But other than that, I don't see our cases are just going to get backlogged, and we're going to have to put in a lot of work, a lot of hours when we get out of this, but it's to be expected. So.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
Councilmember Peterson here. I was just, not for College Place, but that's good news. I was hearing about cases, I think throughout the United States, of cases of domestic abuse increasing under this tension and being quarantined and whatnot. So that's nice to hear, Chief. So I'm glad that there hasn't been an uptick. Hopefully not in that area either. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just an observation from me. I've seen more families bicycling and walking in College Place.
That is a nice sight. Okay, if there's nothing
Thank
more.
you guys for letting me present.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ree.
Okay. We are going to open up for a public hearing at this time. City Clerk Nysel, do we have anybody who have submitted for public hearing?
No submissions for public testimony, no.
Okay, thank you for public testimony, excuse me, yes. Okay, then Mr. Rizzatello is going to discuss a USDA RD grant loan program.
Do we need to close the public hearing?
Well, on the agenda, we have that before, right after the public hearing. Do we need to close that, Lisa, or is it part of the?
Well, we haven't actually opened it. We need to have Mr. Rizzatello do his presentation first, and then we'll open and essentially note that there's no testimony and then close the public hearing.
Yep, that's what I thought. Okay. All right, Mr. Rizzatello, you're up.
you. Okay, thank you. With this agenda item, this is pretty much identical to what you've seen with other grant opportunities I brought before you with the Southwest Sewer Project. So United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, we do qualify under their infrastructure program because we're deemed a rural county, and they have an infrastructure assistance grant program where they fund this sort of thing, and you turn in an application to them, and then they make a determination at that juncture, what percentage of the award will be like grant versus loan, but you have to turn in the application first. And as such, part of the requirements is to have a public meeting, which is federal nomenclature for public hearing, which we're doing now. And then beyond that, pass a resolution of support. The council's good with turning this in a USDA. And then they'll make the determination, get back to us in the next couple of weeks, essentially what their offer is. It's very advantageous for us right now because USDA does have funds that they need to spend on projects in the state. Otherwise, they have to turn it back in late June. But if they obligate it, meaning that we have all the information to them and they can make a decision, then it stays within the state, and that bodes well for future annual allocations of USDA funds to the state of Washington. So there is no really formal commitment with this. It's just the action item after this hearing will be just basically you're good with us turning in a resolution of support and turning in the application to USDA to help fund the construction of the Southwest trunk line.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it is 7:19 and I'm going to open up for public testimony. And City Clerk Neisel stated that there was none submitted.
There was none submitted.
Okay. Then it is 7:20 on my clock and we have a motion. Oh, question?
Well, that was going to be my question is, do we need to have a motion to open the public hearing? And
You
then
don't
another
have-
motion to close it?
No, you don't have to motion to open it. The mayor opens it. You just have to have a motion to close it.
Then I move to close it.
I will
That was
second.
Councilmember Selby and Cleveland, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, if you guys would please state your names, since I don't have a full screen view, it would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussions? All right, hearing none, let's vote. All in favor of closing the public meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion is carried. The public meeting is now closed.
Public hearing,
Hearing, sorry.
just
the
want to
public hearing.
clarify.
Yes, the public hearing is now closed, yes. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Rizzatello? No? All right. Then I guess we're good with that one. We'll move on to our action items. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Let's see. So action items. We're going to talk about the USDA RD grant loan program.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go over a whole thing again, just that it's to help fund the Southwest sewer, and that's needed. So we have additional capacity for our commercial and residential lands along State Route 125, going all the way to Myra Road to College Avenue, as well as the McKiernan and Christensen property, and that'll help in this regard. And we also are trying to get all this in now because we're trying to assemble the funding package on this so we could go to construction and said sewer line hopefully sometime this summer.
That'd be great. Any questions? Any other comments on any of the documents attached? All right. So do we have a motion regarding the USDA RD grant loan program?
Councilmember Trope, I'd like to move to approve resolution number 20-017, which supports application in the USDA Rural Development Grant and Loan application for the South Lift Station construction.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second, Councilmember Cleveland.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any other items for business discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the motion is carried and adopted. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Mr. Rickard, we're going to discuss the annexation of wastewater lift station.
Thank you. So this is a follow-up from our last council meeting. We have 4 annexations tonight. 2 of them are for annexations for municipal purposes. So the first one is the wastewater lift station number 7 property, which is located west of the McEwen and Christensen property, and it's kind of a follow-up to the USDA grant. Because that's where the lift station will be built. So there's an RCW that allows for Code City to, by simple majority vote of the council, to approve an ordinance to annex an area that it owns for municipal purposes. So that's what we're asking you to do tonight. If council votes to take action, the effective date of the annexation would be June 30th. It's a 5-acre piece. It's directly adjacent to the western boundary of property owned by Craig Christensen. The lift station will be built on the red site there, as you see in the exhibit, and the force main will go up Till Road and then down Majonier and then down Owens to the wastewater treatment plant. Any questions?
This is Councilmember Selby. I was a little confused on exactly what we're annexing. Is it just the red, or does it include some of what's in green?
No, the green represents the city limit line.
Okay.
And the red area is just the 5-acre piece that we purchased
Okay.
from Conan last fall.
Thank you.
Mayor, Councilman Peterson, I would move to approve ordinance number 20-007, annexing municipally owned property purchased in the fall of 2019 for municipal purposes for the new Southwest Sewer Lift Station Improvements Project.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Councilmember Trope, second.
All right, any other discussions or questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is carried and adopted. All right, Mr. Rickard, you're still up with the annexation of the DNR wastewater property?
Okay, so this is another annexation for municipal purposes. We acquired this land for the purpose of expanding our wastewater treatment plant. We need more ground to disperse our wastewater. We're no longer allowed to discharge as much of it as we would like into the creek. So we need more grounds to do that. It's 80 acres. It's directly adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant. So to the east is the wastewater treatment plant. There's the green dotted line represents the city limit line and the property owned by the city where the wastewater treatment plant is. Any questions?
Councilmember Peterson, this is the land that, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I'm not sideways here. This is the property that was just purchased in the last 6 months?
I believe that sounds right. In October, we purchased this ground, yes.
From the state, correct?
From the Department of Natural Resources,
Oh,
which is
Yeah.
federal, I believe.
State.
Oh, state, sorry. Yeah, that's right. It funds our schools.
okay. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
This is Councilmember Cleveland. I will motion to approve ordinance number 20-008, annexing municipally owned property for municipal purposes for use by the wastewater treatment plant operations.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Councilmember Selby, second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any other questions or discussions? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is carried and adopted. Mr. Rickard, annexation of Majania Road.
Okay, so the next two annexations are the annexations of road right-of-way. You can do that anytime you have municipal boundaries that are adjacent or in the center of a right-of-way. You can either take it in or de-annex all of it, however, which direction you want to go. So Majania Road fronts all of the McEwen and Christensen property, and there will be development access that will come off of Majania Road to at some point in time when that upper part of the bluff south of Majania is developed. So it's important that we have that within our city limits so that when the development comes in, we can make sure that it's developed to city standards and not the rural road standards. That's that. Any questions on that one?
This is more about prepping for development as opposed to pending action.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. Do we have a motion? No motion?
I
Councilman,
move.
go ahead, please.
This is Councilmember Selby. I move adoption.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any other questions or discussions? All right, hearing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
So just a suggestion that we go back to the agenda sheet when we go to vote, because it's hard to read that from here. I only have a single screen.
All right. Any other items? All right,
Can I ask who the second was on that one?
Trope.
Thank you.
the ayes have it. The motion is carried and adopted. Okay, Mr. Rickard, last one, the annexation of State Route 125.
Yes, so this one, we're recommending that we bring in the entire intersection of Highway 125 and College Avenue. Right now, you can see the green line that kind of goes diagonally across the intersection there. So it makes it confusing when there's a emergency response or question of where the jurisdictional boundary is. So we're proposing to move it down to a quarter section line just past the intersection, a couple hundred feet. This also lines up with, and I guess I wish I had an aerial image, but there's a frontage road that's within the right of way of SR 125 that provides access to those lots to the west of the highway. It's called Smith Access Road. So it's part of the roadway that's owned by the state. And so we've included that as well. And that southern boundary of this proposed annexation also creates the southern boundary of the terminus of Smith Access Road. So it's kind of a nice clean break. We'll make sure that we get some city limit signs installed up there, and probably some welcome to College Place signs at some point as well, to clearly make it clear to our emergency responders where the jurisdictional boundary is. And I should have mentioned this at the last one. Part of the process of annexing right-of-way requires that an agreement by the county commissioners. So once your recommendation or your ordinance for annexation, that will be forwarded on to the county commissioners, and they also have to agree with the annexation in both cases.
Are there any concerns that they may not?
I wouldn't, no, I don't think so. I did send both of these, the preliminary legal descriptions, along to the county's commissioner's clerk and asked for some guidance on how to get on their agenda, and just kind of gave them a heads up of this meeting tonight. I did not hear back from her, so, but I don't see any issues. I mean, it clearly makes sense and in both instances, so.
A couple quick questions on this. I know that intersection there has been subject for discussion and even petitions about speed limits in there because there have been some bad accidents in that area. I'm assuming all the speed limit decisions and all that is the state, not us.
Yeah, correct. It's still a state highway. They still maintain the road. They still control the speeds. I would imagine that they'll still maintain Smith Access Road as well, because even though it would be in the city limits, it's still within their right of way. I think Smith Access Road is one of those legacy frontage roads. It was probably a solution when this intersection was created.
And then the second question would be, I'd love to hear what our attorney says about, at some point we have to test whether the county's going to go along with annexation requests. Is this the right one for that?
Is that a question for me or Ree?
Ree.
I think that's probably a question that can go to John in his experience with the county.
Well, we've went through this process once before to annex in the Spitzenberg and Lambert and Della roadways, and they went along with it. You know, in particular with this road section here, they don't have jurisdiction, so it's not as if they're going to lose any control. And in most cases, like up on Majonier, that makes sense because they've just lost, you know, a couple thousand feet of road frontage that they have to maintain. So,
So the other ones made sense to me as not potential conflict with the county. This one here, I worry a little bit that, you know, we give the county another chance, and I don't know if this is the right venue for that. That's all I'm asking.
Well, we don't have, I mean, if we move it forward and they decline to agree with us, I mean, we don't have to do anything about that. We can just, you know, it just won't go anywhere. Mike, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I would just say with this intersection as it stands right now, it's basically split between two jurisdictions. I mean, classically in this state, when you have a bigger intersection like that, just for police and fire response and just provision of services, it's good to have it within one jurisdictional boundary. So, I mean, really, it makes sense to have one of the larger traffic count intersections in town actually be in the said town. So.
Okay.
Mike, does that open us up to any liability of sort? I mean, I don't know historically how that intersection's been, but is there any liability we need to be concerned about?
Well, I mean, I would just say it would eliminate confusion as far as who responds to what, because right now, if you query that, like in the county GIS system, you get conflicts between it being a sheriff's department District 4 call versus a city police and fire call. So it will eliminate that issue. As far as other liabilities, I really wouldn't expect that because that's the Washington Department of Transportation right away, and they really carry the liability on that. The only thing I would say Is that just in the far future? That would just make it easier in dealing with the Department of Transportation in the future as that intersection gets improved, because it would be in the city where right now it's like this weird hybrid.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Oh, Mr. Bobbitt?
Ms. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 20-010, which annexes SR 125 right-of-way to reduce possible jurisdictional confusion in an emergency or law enforcement response scenario.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Councilmember Peterson, second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Right, the ayes have it. The motion is carried and adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Mr. Rizzatello's up for the Lions Park renovation grant.
Yeah, so as I said the previous council meeting, there was going to be a multitude of resolutions of support for the Lions Park project. This basically is another one. So in this case, this is to put in for money from the Youth Athletic Facility Fund to help with the Lions Park renovation. I mean, just to explain it, what we're trying to work towards here is that basically between city REIT funds, private foundation funds, nonprofits, and then 3 state grants, which would be the Recreation Conservation Office Land Water Conservation Fund, which was approved last meeting, this Youth Athletic Facility Fund this meeting, and next meeting would be the Washington Wildlife Recreation Program Rec Park Grant. The concept is between all of them and then our local funds that we have a fully funded project. So that's what the goal is, to assemble all the financing on this through this year and early next year, so we could really start going on this project to renovate the Lions Park.
So thank you. Do we have any questions?
Mike, a quick question. I don't recall whether this project scope includes, I don't know the right word, but eliminating the stormwater flow from the hill down into the pond. Is that part of this?
As part of this, there was going to be some stormwater treatment as far as improving the outfall from the subdivision above the park into the said creek and so forth. That was like the extent of it. And then also doing the pond separation from the creek to make sure there was proper passive stormwater treatment within that facility.
Is that in the document? If it is, I'll go back and read it. I'll be honest, I didn't read that.
Well, as far as the park board, the park mock-up drawings, no. Where it is, where the outfall discussion is that large stormwater master plan document that passed through council late last year. Because that was, keep in mind with these plans, this was mainly looking at it from a recreation perspective, but because we have the stormwater utility, and if you look at the storm master plan as well as the 6-year capital facility plan that was passed through council in December, it says in there that basically all of the outfalls and storm pipes from that subdivision above the hill into Lions Park would be improved, because that would make the most sense while the park is under construction.
Right. So the question I have really is that if you right there in the lower right-hand corner of the pond is the stormwater head that collects that water from the hill that goes into the pond, right?
Yeah.
So does that get redirected up above, or does that get routed around the pond, or is there going to be some kind of reservoir there to allow it to go? Can you address
Basically,
that, Mike?
basically the concept was that you'd still have the pond, but then you also have like a swale for like treatment of the said stormwater going into the pond. It's basically improving the treatment of the stormwater coming off of the hill into the pond. So there wouldn't be active like reconstruction above the hill, but there would be additional treatment mechanisms adjacent to the pond in said park.
So you'd be to the right of the dock there, the right of the walkway in that treat area. There'd have to be some kind of construction in there to put a swale to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My Councilmember Peterson, minor point of clarification, perhaps. I remember, I think it's been a while ago now. Was the plan to have 2 overlay soccer fields in addition to the baseball field, or has it changed?
Well, I mean, we basically view those as multi-purpose fields that can accommodate soccer. The plan is to improve the irrigation system so the grass actually stays green and is playable and things to that effect. But that's really what we're moving towards as far as like active soccer field improvements such as lighting or stuff like that. We weren't going to go to that extent, but it was going to be minor improvements that will mean a lot to the continued upkeep of the said park.
So this once again, this is really minor. The dimensions still support that even with the renovations, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it still supports that we have grassy areas that essentially can be used for multiple sports. The key thing that we're trying to improve in there as far as like active sports is basically a baseball/softball field, just because if you go out there, it's in a challenge condition to say the least.
Yeah.
My concern was strictly stormwater.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back later and have to fix that.
Yeah, agreed.
And mine was soccer.
Well,
Mike, can I add a couple things?
Huh? Yeah.
Oh, well, go ahead when you're done.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So I mean, that was why if you look at the capital facility plan that we worked on and council adopted in December, under the park side, it has all of this. But then in addition to that, if you look in the stormwater capital plan, you'll notice that there's like a grouping of like 5 or 6 outfalls and things to that effect in stormwater treatment. And that's why, because while this park is under dramatic renovation, that's when we want to go in and fix everything correctly. We don't want to make it a nice park and then have to trample over stuff with bulldozers again. So,
right. Thank you for the clarification, Mike. I didn't remember everything that was in that stormwater doc. Sorry, go ahead, John.
So there's a couple things I would like to point out in that. Remember, this is a concept that we have. We do have some pretty solid estimates from that they're a little outdated, so we're adjusting for inflation. But the stormwater, the reason why you don't see it on these exhibits is that it was not part of what we went to our CO the last time around to apply for funding for, because they don't fund stormwater facilities. They would fund the dredging if we were successful, but not the stormwater facility. So, but we do have an idea and some concepts on what that might look like, but no final design. So it could be a combination of a swale and some sort of system that would separate out the oils and whatnots and trash. The other thing is that going back to that, this is a concept. The feedback that we got from the events that we held at the farmers markets was that people didn't want to lose the playground on the north side of the creek. They would like to see that enhanced. So we'll probably see the splash pad on the south side and an enhancement of the playground where it's at, more features added to that and make it, ADA accessible and whatnot. So just remember, this is a concept. Final design will be subject to more public input and suggestions by the engineers once they get into it. So.
Certainly appreciate this. I think this is great for our community.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All
I'd
right.
like a motion to make a motion to approve resolution number 20-018, which authorizes the city administrator to submit a land youth athletic facility grant application to the State Recreation Conservation Office for Lions Park renovation.
I'll second. Councilmember Cleveland.
Great. We have a first and a second. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion is carried and adopted. All right, Mr. Gordon, the College Avenue traffic assessment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a study long in coming. This is the College Avenue traffic assessment, and we're coming to council tonight to ask for authorization to actually increase the scope somewhat. We think that there's some opportunity to obtain some additional information that would be very helpful. If you recall, this is an issue that came up as a part of reconstructing the College Avenue corridor to the CARS project. There were some questions about whether the lane striping with the left turn lanes was appropriate, how to handle some of the parking issues, how do we accommodate bicycles, some site visibility triangle questions. And so we wrapped those all into a study and went out to bid, and DNS traffic consultants have been doing that work for us. We originally began that process and that study under the assumption that we would have a second north-south corridor to the west of College Avenue, effectively a Davis extension, because Davis is the street that runs in front of the university gym, and it would come all the way down and terminate close to Sunny Drive on College Avenue. That's in our 6-year tip there. Thank you, Carolyn. You can see it. It's the it would be, oh, I don't show it on there. Sunny Drive is just above where you see the UGA. Yeah, there you go, right in that area. So the road would come down where you see that green line come, and it would continue on the old right-of-way, the railroad right-of-way, and then terminate at Sunny Drive. And that's been on our 6-year tip. In retrospect, we've been thinking about the possibility it might be wiser to go to 12th Street. Maybe, in fact, it might make sense for us to go down to Majonier. And so what we're doing is, as we're looking at those answers, we're coming to council and asking if you would be open and willing to authorize an additional amount for DNS traffic consultants to go through and evaluate the changes of level of service to College Avenue if we were to move it from Sunny Drive to, say, 12th Street, or possibly to Majonier, to the Majonier Road area. We don't know for sure what that alignment would be, but probably be similar to what I'm showing there in the green dashed line. The other part of this too is we would also be asking for what the impact would be on College Avenue as a result of these various alignments, or possibly if we did nothing at all. One of the things we don't want to do, I don't think, is drive traffic too much on College Avenue. That's a commercial corridor. I think we need to continue to attract commercial business along that corridor. So just coming before you tonight to ask if you folks would be willing, if council would be willing to authorize an additional $4,400, I'm sorry, $4,400 for DNS traffic consultants to conduct this additional work. We would be taking the results of that work along with the full study to the Utilities and Traffic Advisory Commission. And hopefully, if the restrictions are lifted on the 4th, we might be able to meet as early as May 14th, somewhere in that area. They would take a look at it, come up with some recommendations, and finally, we anticipate Gary Norris, who is our lead with DN Traffic Consultants, would present the findings and recommendations to council. I'm open to entertaining any questions you might have.
This is Councilmember Cleveland. as far as that green line is concerned, is that exactly where we'd want the streets? I'm kind of looking at the map that's up there. You know, in terms of symmetry, it's a little bit off from some of the other streets, and even where the original proposal was coming a little bit south of Sunny Drive. I'm just curious, you know, is there a benefit to making things a little bit more symmetric, where they might line up in the future with other streets a little bit better? Or
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
No, that's a very good question. The reason you're seeing that is topography. There's a fairly steep drop off the Summit Plaza area there. Down below, if we come up the railroad right away shown with the green line, we could make that transition. At least at a planning level, it looks like it would be conceivable. We could relocate that green line. The question is, what would that do to traffic on College Avenue? That's probably the bigger question right now. But you're right, we could look at a different location. Obviously, we're constrained by the existing homes and residences there and by topography. And that would probably suggest itself before some of the other routes just because of that.
Follow-up question. Isn't that area all county? Can we propose or build a road through county land?
Yes, it is in the county, and I think we can propose it and anticipate it. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean we would do it. It'd be a planning effort. At some point, those folks may want to annex, especially as we improve Majanier Road. And that would be just looking ahead.
Well, and something I would add to this as well is we really need this data for another grant application we're working on. So the Metropolitan Planning Organization has a call for grants for arterial road projects. And one of the projects I have Robert working on is an application to basically reconstruct Majanier Road. So that area that you all just approved the annexation of. So we're going to go after grant funds to improve and reconstruct Majanier Road. Now, to what level you reconstruct it to is really derived by what this additional traffic data would say, such as if we were going to run Davis to it, or if it's not warranted, and then traffic ends up going on College Avenue or Grandview. Right now, we don't really have those details because when the original traffic study was authorized, it was just set in stone about making it basically go into Sunny Drive. But as development and things have occurred over the years, it really may behoove to extend it over to Majanier, because otherwise you end up with a giant traffic bottleneck between Sunny and Lamperti, where you would have two roads going into each other and only one road completing over the hill. So really this data would be very advantageous, and we'd be able to get it in a timely manner to incorporate in that Majanier Road grant application, where hopefully we could get someone else to pay to go reconstruct most of the road.
Councilmember Selby.
I had a question about the criteria for the study. Because one of the things we're looking at is the left turn lanes on College Avenue, correct?
Correct.
And as I recall, those were part of the original design because of wait times on the crossroads out like at the end of the 20-year cycle or whatever.
That is correct.
So I would like to see if they could do it without too much extra money, and I think they ought to be able to. I would like to see, you know, what if we said we're okay with a little extra wait time there? Would we be able to get rid of the left turn lanes? I'd like to see some options, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the reports that we have, and actually we've received the original report that they provided, and then we've asked for an addendum to provide some clarifications. And right now what they're looking at is options for removing those turn lanes and the resultant levels of service that result as if we do take those out.
Okay.
So you do have that in there, and that was probably the main part of the study itself. So that's in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Peterson, to Mr. Gordon, what is there? If council members have other observations, is there a date that we should probably make an inquiry about that as far as how the study is going?
Well, I'm open to answering any questions I can right now. The study is effectively complete with the exception of this additional work. Once we get this work, the plan was to take it to the UTAC or to the Utilities and Transportation Advisory Commission. But if you have input, let me know, and we'll see if we can't address it, or maybe it's already been addressed.
Yeah, this is pretty minor stuff. It was striping in a couple areas, but yeah, I'll contact you.
Certainly.
Offline. It's yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
This is Councilmember Cleveland. I will motion to authorize the mayor or city administrator compensate should that be DNS traffic?
That is correct.
DNS traffic consultants for modeling 3 additional scenarios related to the Davis Street extension for $4,000 with a 10% contingency for a not to exceed amount of $4,400.
Second, this is Councilmember Selby.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other discussions or questions? All right, hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is carried and adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. And Mr. Rizzatello, you're going to talk about the Curb City on Flex Light Industrial Building.
Thank you. So with this project, this is basically bringing to life what was presented to the city council in March about the whole problem that we don't have pre-built flex light industrial space that's vacant in the city limits. In order to get state funds, you first have to do basically a planning study about the market, the exact location to build it, and the general schematics of the building. I'll tell you my experience with the grant funds since I've lived in Washington. For this grant, I've been 7 for 7 in getting them, so we'll get it. This one would basically pay for the planning study, a good proportion of it. So it would be $50,000. Typically these studies end up being about like 66 or so. So we would make up the difference of about 25%. And then with that, once the study is done, we could then go after state funds. What the study will help answer is what is the ideal site if we were to do a city-owned flex building, because there are 2 ideal ones that have proper zoning. One of them would be some of the peripheral property out by Martin Airfield because it's by a rail line, or the other is the Guglielmelli property that's a fallow field right now over on the southeast corner of like Rose and Damson. But again, that's right near a rail line too. This is the opportune time to do this because with what's happened with the CARES Act and so forth, there's been quite a bit of money that's been directed to Federal Economic Development Administration. So if we get this done in a timely manner, I think we'll be sitting pretty good to get a variety of funds to actually go build it. So that's what this is. It's authorization to go for plan and study grant money.
All right.
Mike, Councilmember Peterson here. You know, is this grant for a single site, the study?
No, this will be for multiple sites. The way I'm writing the grant application, though, I really would like them to concentrate on the 2 ones. So basically, the peripheral lands around Martin Airfield or the Guglielmelli site.
So, you know, Mike, I think it was after you presented this, maybe at the workshop or
yeah,
maybe, yeah. I think I was next day I was driving by the Umpqua Bank location there in downtown College Place, and I was, I know we're not going to be doing probably making airplanes in that building, but or something like that. But what are your thoughts on that building as far as an incubator for business environments, and whether or not that would fold into something like this, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think that would be an ideal building for that, but that building's been acquired though, the Umpqua Bank building. So I mean, it would be good for it, but unfortunately, that element's out of our hands, really.
Good to know.
I mean,
Thank you.
we can advocate to the people who bought it to do that, but
It would be a fantastic location if we could get it.
yep.
This is Councilmember Selby
what-
and, sorry.
I'm sorry, the Baker Boyer Bank, anything similar?
They're in it again.
The Baker Boyer Bank is now active again. So the telemarketing phone arm of Baker Boyer Bank has actually moved back into it. So it's off the market.
Okay, I surrender. Thank you.
Walla Walla University is the one that bought the bank. And my understanding from what they've told us is the plan is to move in some of their office buildings that are in houses and then rent out the houses. But they've also been talking about for a number of years with the port, the possibility of having some sort of space like this where the business faculty and the engineering faculty and students could serve as a source of, advice, etc. So all of that's a long roundabout way of saying that if we get this and we're doing a feasibility study, I think talking to the university about how some of their property can fit into that should be definitely be part of it, because they have been looking to possibly do that.
Very cool.
Yep.
Good. Excellent.
It's good. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments on this project? All right, hearing none. Let's vote. Oh, do we have a motion? Excuse me.
Councilmember Trope making a motion to approve resolution number 20-19, authorizing and supporting Community Economic Revitalization Board application for city-owned flex/light industrial conceptual planning study.
Second, this is Councilmember Selby.
Great. We have a first and a second. Any other questions or discussion items? All right, hearing none now, we can vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is carried and adopted. And that's the last of our action items. Do we have any other business for discussion? No, okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved. Councilmember Cleveland.
Do we have a second?
Councilmember Selby, second.
All in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much. And thanks to
Thank you.
Felicia, if she's watching. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.